Hello, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Thank you for stopping by for my talk. I'm going to talk today about the idea of ecosystem and how ecosystem within manufacturing space can bring more value to customers. Before I'm jumping into ecosystem and what we do around ecosystem at Tulip, I want to take a step back and think about what happened in Industry 4.0 or digital transformation in the last few years. Around $2 trillion are being invested every year in process automation, in the idea of taking factories and making them more and more automated. With that said, there is a fundamental problem around the human aspect of the shop floor of manufacturing that is not being addressed well. And if we think about the numbers from different surveys, we have around 70 to 80% of the errors and problems within shop floors coming from human mistakes. Not only that, there is a gap around skills, around turnover, and the human problem is stayed untouched. We believe that the idea of combining ecosystem and combining digital solutions that are focusing on human can bring a lot of value in the coming years. If you think about the impact, and let's take a complex shop floor with devices, with machines, with sensors, with cameras, with many operators that are there to go and digital and that are there to go and build the amazing products that we want to build. That requires an ecosystem approach because the tech stack of today become more and more complex, and we want a holistic solution for the ecosystem to come to the customers. We think about value to the customers. We think about many different aspects within the shop floor that need to come together. So the impact to solve these human problems go through enhanced tech stack, through empowering the operators to build more and more complex solutions that are coming together. I'm going to talk today a bit more about this idea of ecosystem and what vendors can do together in order to help their customers bring better products, better quality, high throughput. If we're not going to do anything and continue with the same mindset of each vendor is working by itself, we're going to miss an opportunity to bring more value to the customers. And that's, for us at Tulip, it's the most important aspect. The reality is that the problems level in the shop floor, in operation, is too big to solve by a single vendor. We believe that when vendors come together and and bring holistic solutions that are integrated, that are have more complexity layers one on top of the other, it brings high value. The reality of shop floors is that operators doing a lot of manual work with lots of paper-based processes today. They have a lot of machines and devices and ERPs and data that they want to combine together and gain value from. So when we think about the future of a shop floor, we think about the tech stack that is integrated. When a new tech stack is coming into the shop floor, we want it to bring value through not only the point solution, rather through integration and through data streaming. And there are many different examples around that. So when I'm saying ecosystem, and when we think about the future of the ecosystem, we think about vendors, partners, and customers that are working together to create easy integration, to create platforms and products that are connected together in a smooth way. We believe not only that the vendors are responsible for the integration, rather that it needs to be simple and smooth and easy. What is the reality looks like? While there are factories that are becoming more and more automated, and maybe at some point they will be able to turn off the lights, the reality is that most shop floors today have 100 plus operators, and the work is extremely manual with paper-based processes in an environment that looks like that. That's around, in the US, for example, it's around 90% of the shop floors. In Europe, there is almost 1 million jobs that are being lost because of bad environment. If we think about the next generation of workers and operators, we think about people that's born with a mobile phone in their hands. And shop floors needs to be digital, need to be advanced, need to be human-centric, need to be empowering the operator, and it's super important to think about the operator in mind when we're digitalizing and taking the shop floor to the next level. Take a look at these quotes. They're not from Tulip, they are from vendors that you are all using, and they're all platforms that are human-centric, thinking ecosystem, thinking about working with a network and bringing more value to the customers. So the first one is Airbnb, for example, and none of you are going to Airbnb because they have an amazing website. You're going to Airbnb because there is a network, an ecosystem of amazing assets that are being offered by the ecosystem. 3 years ago, I bought my kids an Xbox. And when I was selecting Xbox, I didn't select Xbox because it's an amazing platform with very strong GPU. I selected Xbox because of the games, because of the content on the platform. Same with Netflix. Nobody is using Netflix because it has an amazing UX, UI, and it's really handy in your television. You're selecting Netflix because of the content that is being shared on that platform. Same should be thought in manufacturing ecosystem. So the open ecosystem idea that Tulip is leading is for vendors to come together and offer the best of the best to partners. If you're a vendor and you want to tune into that idea, come and visit Tulip. That's what we're doing. In the last year, we created around 100 of different connectors, from devices to ERPs to different platforms to machines. We believe that this idea of bringing more and more content and more value to the customers through network, through ecosystem, through working together, is the future of this space. So imagine for a second, if you have an ERP and MES system in your shop floor, and they're both old legacy monolith systems that are very heavy and hard to integrate. Maybe 20 years ago, it was huge system integrating process that took hundreds of hours, 18-month project, millions of dollars to integrate. The reality today is that modern architecture, like the one that you can see on the reference architecture all around the AWS booth, that's the future. That's enable companies, if they're ERP vendors or MES vendors, to come together and connect easily. So we at Tulip, for example, provide a composable MES solution for many of our customers. And ERP integration that support API and support modern architecture become super easy. It's something that the customer can handle by himself and create a dynamic environment that is quick enough and fast enough and easy enough to use that can bring more and more value. Same goes with edge to cloud. There are so many vendors today that think about IIoT and connectivity and unified namespaces and MQTT connectors and brokers. All these good ideas, when they're comes together and you can use your MQTT broker with your UNS provider and your machine shop and already supported these protocols, and you want to integrate them into your no-code platform, Tulip in this case, or to your ERP, that's the future. And the last example is when you want to connect to machines and you have a huge machine shop that you don't have visibility to what is happening at the moment. That's become a reality when companies are working together. So I want to give an example. Mech Molding is a contractor manufacturing in the US that is working with Tulip in the last 5 years. They build many, many different products for many different companies. They have a unique offering from design through the R&D part with the customer through the manufacturing of the product. And when we started to work with them, we very quickly recognized that they have a very complex tech stack. They need to manufacture many different products, and they need to have an agile environment that can tune and tweak and being fixed into a new product. So think about an operator that need this agility, how his environment looks like, what is the tech stack. So I'm showing here six different technologies that was needed to integrate, and because they're all in a modern architecture, they are in open ecosystem mindset, it was very easy to do so. So they have the customer management in Salesforce that is easily integrated into the AWS cloud and into Tulip to bring value and data back and forth from the shop floor. Same with end-on lights from lifts and zebra printers and cameras and barcode scanners, all become suddenly a tech stack that can integrate, that can talk together through common architecture, through common APIs, to SQL database connectors, to MQTT and OPC UA, whatever connectivity and standards you would like to use. The reality is that you need to ask your vendors, and that should be the standard to support connectivity into your assets. So think about an operator in that environment that need this context switching. They would like to have a unified UX UI with an application at each station across the factory that follow them through this mindset shift that they need to have. And if everything is integrated together in a smooth way, and in this case we believe that Tulip is more or less the glue of all these technologies, it's become much easier. So the operator here is a human that was empowered by the tools that the OT department selected. And because of that, the productivity in this factory is high and the quality is phenomenal. I want to stop here for a second and look at this quote from the engineering manager, Scott. So Scott said that he often talks to his engineers group about how the limitation isn't in the software, but it's really in the imagination. With the ability to connect through all IoT, we can really do some incredible things to improve production on the floor. So if the technology is mature enough and support this type of integration, the reality is that that's unlock innovation, that's unlock the new ideas, the improvement. That's the modern lean, if you like. So we call that augmented lean at Tulip, because the idea is that this unlock innovation. And we really believe that the idea of open ecosystem can bring a lot of value to whoever is using this open mindset. And you can take that, into new fields and new areas. And I mentioned already that, in the last year we brought in to the Tulip ecosystem probably 100 different companies. You can see a few here from Litmus that provide edge to cloud and are here in the AWS booth that can be connected to your CNC machine, comes from DMG Mori or your Zebra printers or your barcode scanner. It could be digital work instruction through Tulip applications that is installed in every cell, or computer vision that comes from AWS with APIs into Tulip. You name it. The idea is that a modern ecosystem and modern architecture based on connectivity and data can flow back and forth from all these complex grid of softwares. That's the future, and that's, well, what we need to push for. This is an example from one of our customers that is using a lot of different tools and devices within a discrete assembly lines. It could be things like Landing AI or Cognex or AWS services that provide quality inspection with vision solutions. It could be banner or lifts for bin picking. You can see a good example in the Tulip booth just behind the AWS booth. There is a nice pop-up factory that we have built with lots of different vendors that are integrated into Tulip, so you can test that. And data collection, edge to cloud, things like HiByte and Litmus, Zebra and Metler. And there are many, many different solutions. We believe that the future is that vendors will take ownership of the integration. Instead of throwing the integration on top of the customer and your IT department can do this integration, we believe that integration should come out of the box. That's why at Tulip we created a library of connectors, and today we have many of these connectors out of the box that you can install into your environment and connect to your tech stack. And we have a dedicated team that is supporting customers in this effort of building their connectivity into new assets. You can see here an example of a modern architecture. In this case, obviously, with Tulip in mind, and many different stations and technologies and automations and robots and sensors and cameras and machine shop. These should be able to work together, and companies should be able to imagine, innovate, and build their own tech stack to really solve their problems in the best way. The reality is that problems repeat itself, but every customer that we meet has different requirements, and an agile environment that is connectivity-centric and ecosystem-centric can really bring that value. This is a small subset of the different assets that we have at the moment within our library, and every week we're adding more and more assets. So I want to conclude today with going back to where I started with the idea of ecosystem. Although lots of money is being invested in process automation and robotics, we believe that the future goes through an ecosystem, goes through connectivity, goes through data flow, back and forth from any tech stack node in your network. And we're showing that in practice. In many of our customers, you're well invited to come into our booth here in AWS, just behind the theater. There is a nice Tulip demo. And also in our Tulip booth, just over there, 50 meters. And you can practice assembly and build your own product with Tulip and different partners and different products that are being integrated together. So that's my main message today. And thank you for listening.